Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at Hell Is Us. This upcoming third-person single-player action-adventure game from Rogue Factor is being published by Nacon, and it's bringing a very interesting twist to us. The open beta is available on Steam, and with what I played so far, it seems to be taking a unique combination of games together, with a bit of Resident Evil, with the puzzle-solving gameplay, and it's bringing more of the ARPG elements into focus as we're fighting off these mysterious enemies known as Hollow Walkers. But before we get into the details, consider hitting that like button and subscribing to keep up to date on all the games you're not going to want to miss. Let's go. So Hell Is Us is a single-player action-adventure game bringing us a semi-open world experience. The story behind the game is us playing as this character, Remy. And Remy, as a youngin', specifically 5 years old, has been smuggled out of this isolated country known as Hadia, since they were in the middle of a civil war and your parents did what needed to be done to save you. Years later, though, as we're all grown up, we then look to go back to our country to get ourselves some answers. We don't know what happened to our family, we don't know if they're alive, but when we get back, we find this place still savaged by war, alongside this supernatural presence that seems to be coming from these ancient ruins over 1,000 years old. So Hell Is Us is not just about finding out what happened to our family, but we're also going to be looking to unravel these supernatural events that have been occurring in these lands. Now let's shift over to the most important part to me, the combat and gameplay, because this game is intended to be more of that challenging type of game. I want to point out there are combat difficulty presets where you could change how much health and damage the enemies have, or even just adjust how punishing it is when you die. So they're definitely proving to have some tweaks that we could take part in. This way we can customize our experience. But the standard upfront combat you're going to get out of this game is quite challenging, and I'm going to avoid using the word, you know the word, but you got your dodge, your block, your parry, you got your lock-on system, there's a stamina management bar, all the things that we would expect from our classic ARPGs. However, as we're taking on these different enemies, from humans to these supernatural beings, our form of progression is a bit different from what we're used to. Depending on the weapon that you choose, you're going to start to unlock specific skills and upgrade your weapons alongside trinkets and equipable items that's going to make you way stronger. For example, we got to use this drone as a piece of equipment, and this thing was able to distract enemies, act like a flashlight. It was giving you access to a lot of other abilities that directly affect you in combat. But there doesn't seem to be that standard stat layout system. So a little bit different in that way, where your focus of progression is through the items that you're going to be finding and what weapons of choice you're going with. Now, you're going to be rewarded with most of these trinkets and items on more the gameplay side of things, like throughout your exploration around the world, or going through dungeons, as it has this very Zelda-esque dungeon layout disconnected from the rest of the world. Now, the more you interact with these things and spend the time to explore, the more powerful your character is going to become. They're also going with a more old school take on the whole quest line and progression itself, where there's not going to be that mini map on the top right side of your screen. There's no big map. You have no quest objective indicators. You got yourself and a compass. That's about it. So they're going back to the days where you really got to pay attention and listen to the directions that these NPCs are giving you. There's going to be a lot of detective work that you're going to have to piece together information that you're getting from these NPCs in the game to fully understand what the heck is going on here. And me personally, I really do enjoy that. It keeps it very engaging. It makes you feel like you need to actually pay attention to what these people are saying, especially in this day and age where you open up your map and you got just a checklist of shit to do. Half the time you don't even read the quest, you just click on the track button and go to the yellow ping on the map. But it's very refreshing to bring it back to this level of immersive gameplay. You do have a journal that stores some information that you collect along the way, but you're definitely going to have to jot down or remember a lot of things as you go through this one, and I know that's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. But something I found myself really enjoying about this game is the atmosphere and the art direction. Because usually I'm someone that requires the biome to change relatively frequently and would prefer more of this poppy, vibrant color palette. But this just works. They really did a good job to set this dark, creepy, war-torn horror setting that's just the overtone for the entire game. And it really immediately reminds me of Stalker 2 and how that world looked and felt. This brings us in even further with the dark, ominous music and sound effects. It all comes together very nicely and sucks you right into this devastated world. As far as my final thoughts go, it seems like a very interesting game, and it's definitely something I'll be keeping an eye on as we go. With the story being incredible incredibly heavy and a main part to the game, with the combat being the other half of the focus, alongside them sprinkling in more puzzles and exploration. I feel like if they just hone in the combat in terms of skills and equipment variety and the lack of enemy variety that they have, we're really going to have something special here. Like I said, the combat does feel good. The foundation is definitely there. Parries feel nice. Dodges feel good. The weapons all feel different, and the attack animations are great. But just to clean up a little bit of the repetition, I think would go a really long way. I want to point out you do get a blacksmith, and this of course is what allows you to upgrade your weapons and add some skills, change your damage properties. But he's positioned in like the second area of the game, which makes the first bit of the game, especially when you're just getting started, a little bit slower than I'd like to see. So I don't know, make him a main objective to get to, or swap his outpost so that we could start ramping up our character's damage or get some new abilities a little bit sooner in the game. That would be very nice. But I want to hear your thoughts on the game after seeing this. Is this something that you're interested in? Does the non-hand-holding quest line bring you in or scare you away? Let me know in the comments below. By the way, I stream every Tuesday, Thursday, and over the weekend, so feel free to come hang out if you got nothing better to do, and I will see you in the next one. Toodles!